All right, guys, this is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Want to talk running backs this morning, but before I do that, hit that subscribe button. Full bore, full steam ahead, 2024 fantasy football. Make sure you guys are subscribed because lots of good stuff coming now. Draft preparations fully underway, and we're going to talk running backs today and looking at the early ADPs in PPR formats. Now, those of you who are new to the channel know my philosophy, about running back is to go value. And what I mean by value is spend my first few picks on wide receivers because less injury volatility, more stable numbers, and in a PPR league, in a passing league, that's where it's at. Whereas the running backs going in the first couple of rounds, the last couple of years, there's been tons of injuries, tons of busts, and last year in particular, the dead zone was extremely profitable with Rashad White, with David Montgomery, hell, even later on with Devin Achane, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams wasn't even drafted in some leagues. Isaiah Pacheco was in the dead zone. Like, all of those guys were in the dead zone and paid off exponentially for their fantasy football owners. It was incredible. I'm going to try to do that again this year. Because last year I did that in one of my leagues. I'm in two leagues. One of the league that I won in, I had Isaiah Pacheco, and then I also had David Montgomery, and I won the league because I went value at running back. Now, taking a look at the PPR early ADPs at running backs, and a couple of things stand out to me as far as who I'm completely think is being overdrafted and who's intriguing to me and who I might actually think twice about and jump in on a running back in the first round. Now, Christian McCaffrey, we all know is number one, all right? I've been over this a million times. I'm not going to rehash it again. He's 28, lots of mileage, lots of injuries in the past. Austin Eckler example. Eckler, 27, fantasy football MVP season. The following year at 28, just like aged 100 years overnight, was completely awful last year for the Chargers. And now he's a part-time player for the Commanders. I'm not saying that's what McCaffrey's going to do this year, but when the decline comes, and at 28, that decline comes quickly for running backs, it could get ugly. And we're talking about the guy who's the first player off the board. I know it's outside the box, but I think Bijan Robinson is the number one player in fantasy this year. That is my opinion. I fully, if I have the number one pick this year, I am taking Bijan Robinson. I know I can see it already. Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. 23-year-old back, very little mileage, generational talent, receiver and a runner, new offense compared to an all-time great who's 28, lots of mileage on his legs. The team will probably dial it back a little bit on him because, again, the big picture here is winning a Super Bowl for the 49ers. Like the Chiefs did with Travis Kelce last year, limiting his snaps to around 70%, I totally believe that the 49ers know and realize he's a 28-year-old back. Let's dial it back just a little bit to preserve his legs. It makes sense. So I'm taking Bijan Robinson, who really, he's got a ton of tread on his tires, didn't touch the ball nearly enough last year as a rookie, number one overall. And McCaffrey, I would have number two in my rankings. Breece Hall, initially, I had him ahead of Bijan Robinson. I put him behind Robinson now because he's a little beat up already during the offseason. There's some question marks about him. Is he going to be the goal line back? The Jets made some moves in the draft there. He's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. There's no doubt about it. He is an extremely talented dual threat player. I love Breece Hall. But just a tiebreaker there. That's why I have, because Robinson's going to be the goal line back. Algier, that's not going to happen again. Breece Hall's got the more checkered injury history, and I'm not sure if he's going to get all those goal line carries. So I have Bijan Robinson ahead of him. But those two guys, Robinson and Hall, are the only two backs in the first two rounds I would consider taking. Failing that, I'm going receiver. All right. I already talked about tight end. I'm not doing a tight end early. I'm going to go value a tight end later on. And I already talked about the quarterbacks. It's either going to be 8, 9, 10 guy, Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, one of those guys. So I don't have to move on quarterback either. So this year, I'm going to go wide receiver. Now, let me look at the rest of these guys. Jahmyr Gibbs right now is the fourth running back off the board, which is astounding to me. All right. Again, this is not a question of talent. But you're going to invest, and he's going 12th overall, so he's a first-round pick. You're going to invest a first-round pick on a guy who may not get all the goal line work. David Montgomery was really good, especially around the goal line last year. All right, and David Montgomery's going to play. All right, that tandem worked. So you're going to invest a first-round pick on a guy who may only get 60% of the touches in the backfield and not all the goal line work. That is not good value, in my opinion. Not a criticism on the talent, just a criticism on the setup. Saquon Barkley is number 5. Listen, I'll admit, it's tempting. Like, I'm a former Giants fan. I've seen Barkley up close. He's not the athlete he was when he came into the NFL. I think that knee injury did sap a little bit of his speed. Hasn't really done it. Hasn't put up that insane catch total like he did as a rookie when he caught 90-something passes. I think it was 91. But he's in a good spot with the Eagles. I mean, he's playing behind the best offensive line. I know Kelsey's gone, but he's playing with the best offensive line by far he's ever played with. They can do the tush push. Like, how is that going to work? So that's the only question mark I have there with Barkley, who himself does have a checkered injury history. He's going right now as the 6th back off the board, number 20 overall. So, and that's behind Jonathan Taylor, who you guys know I don't like. All right, I don't even have to go in again on Jonathan Taylor as the 5th running back off the board. I am not taking him. Lots of injuries, lots of carries already going back to college. He's got a mobile quarterback who doesn't check down and also will steal touchdowns around the goal line. So Barkley is the 6th back off the board. 20 overall, not bad, but would I keep an open mind on Barkley at the end of the 2nd round? Maybe. Just because I have an affinity for him as a former Giants fan, but I'm still going to try to go wide receiver at this point. And then Devin Achane. Devin Achane right now is the 26th player off the board, running back 7. And just like Jahmyr Gibbs, this is a bit of a reach. Great player, great athlete, explosive back, but you have an 18-touchdown guy on the ground and Raheem Mostert still on the team. They're not going to deviate from that timeshare. Mike McDaniel saw how beat up Devin Achane got. There is a limited amount of touches Devin Achane. I put Achane and Gibbs in the same tier. Explosive backs, tremendous pass catchers, game-breaking talents. But they can be brittle. They're smaller backs. They can't take that pounding. So I think, Achane is certainly at 26 overall is a risk for me because, again, Raheem Mostert did nothing but excel last year, and he's actually been durable the last couple of years. Why would the Dolphins go away from that arrangement? And this is still a team that likes to throw the ball. You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and now Odell Beckham Jr. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, and Devin Achane was beat up at times last year. I don't like that spot at all. Now, Kyren Williams is the 8th back. So here's the thing. So Kyren Williams is now starting to slip down. I was the first one on this, even before the draft. I think before the draft, he was like the 4th running back off the board. He's now dropped to number 831 overall because it's you have Blake Corum now in town, very accomplished back. I think Blake Corum could be the goal line back. Like, he's a very powerful bruising runner. He's not much of a receiver. Kyren Williams can catch the ball. Blake Corum's going to play. All right, that's just the fact of the matter. He's going to play. And Kyren Williams, and I'll throw him in too with Devin Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs, there's a set amount of carries he can take before he gets hurt. All right? We saw him get injured last season. He missed 4 games? And now they bring in Blake Corum, one of the most accomplished college running backs we've seen in the last couple of years, on a championship-winning Michigan team. Blake Corum is going to play. So now Williams has dropped to, the 3rd round, which is not bad value all of a sudden, but I'm not drafting him there. All right, Derrick Henry is number 9, 36 overall, so the very end of round 3. He's going to score a ton of touchdowns. I mean, Jesus, if you have Gus Edwards scoring 13 touchdowns on the ground last year for Baltimore, Derrick Henry could get 15. So if you're in a standard league, Derrick Henry, who's still productive, he's not the Derrick Henry from 3 or 4 years ago. He's still productive. And this offense, probably better than any offense in the NFL outside of the Chargers, is the best possible setup for Derrick Henry. So I think the touchdowns are going to be there. But, of course, he's still not going to catch the ball, especially with Lamar Jackson back there. I'm not drafting him there. Here's an interesting one. Travis Etienne right now is the 10th back off the board, 44th overall. That seems low to me. All right, the next three guys actually are very appealing to me, and it starts with Etienne at 44 overall. He had lulls last year. He had a quiet stretch after the midway point. Looked like he was beat up a little bit, maybe too many carries. I know the Jaguars really got nothing out of the backups last year. They're going to try to remedy that to an extent. But Travis Etienne is still going to remain the bell cow back in this offense. I don't think there's any question. So at the 10th, running back 10 spot, 44 overall, I'm willing to bite here because I like Travis Etienne, and I think it's good value here. The next the next three guys as well. Running back 11 is Isaiah Pacheco. Took me to a championship last year. He's now the guy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, draft bust. I know they brought him back, but he's just a change of pace backup. Pacheco, the video game style hard charging runner, gets nicked up. He'll miss a game or two. It's like the Aaron Jones thing. He'll miss a game or two. You know that going in when you draft Isaiah Pacheco. But man, he's productive. He's absolutely productive. And this Chiefs offense has leaned toward the run the last couple of years. So I like Pacheco here at running back 11. Running back 12, Josh Jacobs signs a big deal with Green Bay. Aaron Jones gone. A.J. Dillon was brought back. They're not going to... A.J. Dillon was one of the worst running backs I've ever seen. They're not going to be using A.J. Dillon around the goal line. You don't give Josh Jacobs that contract and not give him goal line work. So Josh Jacobs, who's still... I believe he's entering his age 26 season, still young enough. Running back 12 at 52 overall, that's a good spot for him. I like that spot for Josh Jacobs. I am totally willing to take him. And then the last of this foursome that I really like, running back 13, is James Cook. No Stephon Diggs. Cook played really well, had a breakout season last year. We know he can catch the ball going back to college. He was a great pass receiver out of the backfield for Georgia. I think James Cook is going to have a big season in an offense that's sort of being revamped a little bit, maybe emphasizing the ground game more. At running back 13, I'm in. So just to rehash, if I have the opportunity to draft Bijan Robinson with the first or second pick, I will do it. All right, I admit I will do that. Failing that, I'm passing on everybody up until Travis Etienne at running back 10, Pacheco running back 11, Jacobs running back 12, James Cook running back 13. I'm in on all of those guys. Joe Mixon, running back 14, good spot in Houston. He's going to be the guy, but I don't chase backs at his age. Sorry, I'm not going to do it. Rachaad White is the 15th back right now off the board. I don't understand that. In a PPR league, how is Rachaad White? Now, I think that's going to correct itself. It almost has to, because he was tremendous last year. And he was another example of a dead zone running back who really paid off last year. Like, he was a league-winning investment, no doubt. And they wrote him as he's like the rare bell cow back. We don't have many of those. Rachaad White is that. So at running back 15, I'm shocked that that's where he is. I think that's going to correct itself. I'm going to draft Rachaad White there. Alvin Kamara, who left minicamp, unhappy with his contract. They're going to figure that out. He's running back 16. I mean, he's catching a ton of balls. Derek Carr loves to check down. So in a PPR league at running back 16, he's an aging back. I mean, if I was backed into a corner to take him, I would, but I wouldn't do it willingly. Kenneth Walker is finally dropping to where I think he should be. I've been his biggest critic the last couple of years. I've had some online arguments, or debates, not arguments. It's been civil. But I've had a lot of debates with the Kenneth Walker believers out there. And I think now people are starting to realize what I've been saying all along. He's injury prone. He doesn't catch the ball. He's got a very he's got a very skilled backup in Charbonnet who could easily be a starter for half the teams in this league. Running back 17, I'm not even going to take him there because he's still got a limited game. 18 is Aaron Jones. You all know how I feel about Aaron Jones. I love the guy. Man, every year he's so freaking tempting. I mean, you know, Alexander Madison's now out of the way. Ty Chandler's there, who's got some ability. I think Jones is going to be 60-40 touch advantage over Chandler. He's still tempting. He can catch the ball, but man, he gets hurt a lot. The investment's not bad. 80th overall. I think I'm still a sucker for this guy, but I'm going to try not to do that this year. David Montgomery, running back 19. So here's the thing. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's running back 4, and David Montgomery, who's running back 19. And David Montgomery should have more rushing touchdowns than Jahmyr Gibbs this season. So just look at it through that prism. That's interesting, right? And it just goes to show you the disparity between a standard league and a PPR league. Because in a standard league, you can draft Derrick Henry and David Montgomery and have a tremendous backfield because of all the touchdowns they're going to score. But in a PPR league, David Montgomery is not being used in the passing game. So, if in a PPR league, you really don't want David Montgomery at that because of that issue. Running back 20 is Ramondre Stevenson. I think this is a gross overreaction to what was a difficult year. I mean, nobody could succeed in that offense. All right. I know that the draft has brought in some additional challenges for Stevenson, but I think that Stevenson is still going to be the main ball carrier, and he can catch the ball. I'm willing to invest on the bounce back season from Stevenson at running back 20. DeAndre Swift, running back 21. I'm not loving that. There's, they still have Roshan Johnson there. He's okay. They have a lot of pass catching options there. I'm not looking at DeAndre Swift. And then you have Najee Harris, running back 22. Zamir White, running back 23. If he can catch the ball, that could be a really, big payoff there. Jaylen Warren is running back 24. Jonathan Brooks, okay, running back 25. That's a rookie. That's interesting to me. Zach Moss, running back 26. James Conner, I'm not going to try that again. It did work for me last year. That was another dead zone guy that really paid off. I'm not going to invest in James Conner. Raheem Mostert is running back 28 off an 18-touchdown season. What? That is just insane to me. So that is interesting to me. Tony Pollard, running back 29. We know he was bad last year, but at running back 29, I'm willing to put him on my team as a running back 3. Javonte Williams, running back 30. Man, he looked shot last year. He looked shot. I mean, we know it takes an extra year to come back from such a devastating knee injury, but it wasn't good. It did not look good there. I don't know what to think about Javonte Williams. Trey Benson, running back 31. Tajay Spears, what's the setup between Spears and Tony Pollard? That's what we're going to have to find out. Gus Edwards, running back 36. He's going to score touchdowns. We know that they're going to run the ball a lot. Blake Corum, I talked about Blake Corum, running back 37. And then Austin Eckler, running back 39. And I know he's going to be backing up Brian Robinson, but we've seen Austin Eckler, when he backed up Melvin Gordon with the Chargers earlier in his career, had PPR value as a swing running back 3, low-end running back 2, right? So maybe just to fill out my bench, because in a PPR league, if you have guys on your bench that can catch the ball, I'm willing to do that only as a backup situation. And Ezekiel Elliott, running back 40, he's back with Dallas. He's going to score touchdowns, all right? He's going to probably be like that David Montgomery there. Nick Chubb right now is running back 43. Bad injury coming back for him. He's going to move up, though. Once we start hearing good things about his recovery, I think Nick Chubb is going to move up. So I don't think that's going to stay. But I'm not interested in him because he's still got a very limited, overall game there. So that's the situation with the running backs. So, like I said, the sweet spot, just to reiterate, is 10, 11, 12, 13. Travis Etienne, Isaiah Pacheco, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, and then even Rachaad White at 15. I'll keep an open mind on Kamara at 16. Ramondre Stevenson at 20. Those are the guys. Raheem Mostert at 28. Tony Pollard at 29. Those are the guys I'm keeping an open mind on. All right. They just, those guys stand out to me in terms of their opportunity, cost, all of those things. So let me know what you think. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? Post in the comments. A couple other things. So Aaron Rodgers did not attend minicamp for the Jets. this whole thing is becoming just a big circus, all right? We all know Aaron Rodgers is weird. He's been weird his whole life. I mean, don't have to reiterate all the stories. The guy beats to his own drum. But when you have I don't care who it is, when you have, and especially the quarterback of your team, skipping out on minicamp, mandatory minicamp, and then you have the head coach getting up there at first saying, you know what, he should have been here because it's mandatory. And then you later on in the same press conference say he was okay with the absence because Aaron Rodgers had something that was important to him to do. You can't have it both ways. Now, Robert Saleh has been a joke since he's come to the Jets. I mean, there's no question about it. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's running this organization. The signing of Allen Lazard, the signing of Randall Cobb, the offensive coordinator, all of that stuff. And all of that blew up last year as well. None of those things worked out. None of those transactions worked out. And, of course, Rodgers getting hurt right away. Freaking 4 plays into the season. And now he's not there for mandatory minicamp. So, I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers could make it through a season anymore. I'm not sure. I know the Jets improved the offensive line, but this is what has me nervous about Garrett Wilson. All right? I did a separate video how I felt Anthony Richardson is the biggest boomer bust guy for 2024 fantasy football. I actually considered Garrett Wilson as well. Now, I had Garrett Wilson on a winning fantasy team last year. The guy balled the fuck out trying to catch balls from Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, just absolute garbage. The talent is insane with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson could be a slam dunk top 5 PPR receiver. And right now, Garrett Wilson is the 8th receiver off the board, 11th overall. He's going in the back end of the first round with the belief that Aaron Rodgers is going to keep his head on straight and stop with his, self-centered nonsense and get himself ready to go for the season. Because Garrett Wilson's entire value depends on Rodgers. I drafted Wilson in the 2nd round last year and then watched in horror as Rodgers goes down in the 4th fucking play of the season. Now, listen, Wilson did his best, all right? I'm pulling up his numbers now. Wilson did his best. And it just goes to show you how unbelievably talented he is. That he was able to do what he did. Catching passes from those that ragtag of garbage. But the risk quotient is extremely high again. All right? Last year, for Garrett Wilson, 95 catches, 1,042 yards, and 3 touchdowns. How the hell did he do that? 95 catches with Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson, and Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle throwing him the ball. If, and it's a big if, Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy for even 15 games, Garrett Wilson is going to catch 120 passes, 1,300 plus yards, and 10 to 12 touchdowns. You could take it to the bank. He's going to be Devontae Adams in this offense. Justin Jefferson's the 4th receiver off the board. I would take Garrett Wilson over him. Puka Nacua is the 9th receiver off, the 6th receiver off the board. I would take Garrett Wilson over him. So, you just hope that Aaron Rodgers can just do the right thing. Keep himself focused for 2 seconds and stop thinking about Jeopardy and vaccines and RFK Jr. and all this other bullshit. Get himself on the field and get Garrett Wilson to that level we all know he could be at. Because I'm telling you right now, at the end of round 1, man, and I actually hope I'm at the end of round 1. You look at the guys at the end of round 1 in the beginning of round 2, and you know I go receiver. Garrett Wilson, going 11th overall. Marvin Harrison Jr., 13th overall. Drake London, who we all love, 14th overall. Chris Olave, 16th overall. If I can get 2 of those guys, I'm sitting pretty. Now, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would love to have him back this year. He's right now 6th overall. So let's say I'm in that 5-6 spot. Then it coming back to me in the 18-17 spot, you're looking at Nico Collins, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Adams. I don't like any of those guys. Look at the receivers in round 2 right now. The receivers that are going in round 2. Devontae Smith, don't like him. I've talked endlessly about how the second receiver, no matter how talented they are on a team with an alpha, if that second receiver is drafted in the first 3 rounds, they end up being bad investments. Jalen Waddle last year. Devontae Smith last year. T. Higgins last year. And Waddle and Smith are in that zone again as being drafted in the first 3 rounds. No, don't do it. Mike Evans is at 22 overall. I like that spot. I do like Mike Evans. But Deebo Samuel, 23 overall. Nope. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, 18th overall. I don't like it. Jalen Waddle, speaking of Waddles, number 21 overall in the second round. No. I don't like any of these second round guys after Chris Olave. Devontae Adams is going 17th. Brandon Ayuk is 18th. Collins, 19th. Waddle, 21st. Samuel, 23rd. I don't want any of those guys in round 2. Adams with those quarterbacks. Nico Collins. I mean, you have Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs there. Jalen Waddle with Tyreek Hill there? No. Deebo Samuel with Brandon Ayuk there? No. We don't know who's going to be the number 1 guy each week. Mike Evans, yes. At 22, yes. I would take Mike Evans. Devontae Adams, 24th. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, you really do need to get yourself a receiver you really want to be towards the end of round 1 into early round 2 and get 2 of those receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Chris Olave. That's where it ends for me at 16th overall, Chris Olave. Because all those guys I said I don't want in round 2 have question marks. They have talented teammates or quarterback issues. So that is risky for me in round 2. Is it a reach to take Drake London 14th overall? Absolutely not. We've seen what Kirk Cousins can do with his number 1 wideout. And Drake London has the talent to be that guy. So it's key where you are in that draft. If I can get Amon-Ra at 5th overall, and then in round 2, I'm looking at Nico Collins, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle. I'll take Mike Evans. If I could start with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mike Evans, shit, sign me up. And then at the beginning of, the early part of round 3, George Pickens, he's interesting. So there's a lot to look at there. But Aaron Rodgers has to be on that field to get Garrett Wilson where he should be this year. And then you look at Justin Jefferson, 5th overall. Sam Darnold's going to start the season under center. I don't think there's any question about it. What is that going to do for Jefferson? Is he going to be frustrated? I think he will be. He's got that diva in him. So we have to watch that situation closely, I think. It'll be interesting. So guys, hit that subscribe button. Good podcast today. Going to be adding more and more of these in the next couple of days. So hit that subscribe button. Become a member as well. You can pick from one of the 3 levels of membership. And you get a draft guide, PDF draft guide, one of the levels as well. So check that out. And more, like I said, more videos on the way. Stay tuned for all that. Good luck with all your early ADP drafts. I'm going to have some mock drafts as well. So stay tuned for that.